Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. So today I watched Max's newest original film, CADDO Lake. It is a movie that is written and directed by Logan George and Celine Held. And the premise of this movie, because I don't want to go too depth into spoilers here, is that when an 8-year-old girl mysteriously vanishes, a sequence of past deaths and disappearances are linked together to mend a broken family's history. Ooh, spooky. So here's the thing. When it comes to M. Night Shyamalan producing movies, he doesn't really produce a lot of movies that aren't his. I mean, he did produce his daughter's film, The Watchers, this year, but other than that, he really doesn't produce films, specifically films that he is not either writing or directing. But actually, after watching this movie, it actually seems to be pretty clear why he did choose to produce this film, because if you know M. Night Shyamalan, he really likes to be involved in movies that surround the supernatural. And that's really what this movie is, a supernatural thriller. Even so, I was kind of skeptical about this film, and because I've said this many times in some of my other reviews, and that is, M. Night Shyamalan never stays on a straight path. None of the movies that really he gets involved in, well, none that have happened recently, stay on like a straight line. They always seem to course away by the middle of the second act or the start of the third act, and we get like a whole different movie. So, of course, I was skeptical that this film was going to probably do the same thing, have a solid story in the beginning, but completely lose us by the end. I'm glad that this movie wasn't one of those. It's been a long time since I've seen an M. Night Shyamalan movie that actually stayed on a straight path and didn't skew off into another direction. Like I said, I don't want to give away any spoilers here because the movie is a solid film. I enjoyed it. I mean, it's not like perfect. I mean, there are some things I'll talk about that I wish could have been better. But like I said, I want people to enjoy the film without, hearing anything about it. At least anything about the story. But let me start off first with like the main actors here that starred in this movie. The two main stars of this movie are Dylan O'Brien and Elise Scanlon. And they are quite amazing, actually. I mean, the movie specifically revolves around them. They're both searching for something, and it all has in connection to this 8-year-old girl's vanishing. But what they don't know is that really they're kind of searching for the exact same thing, indirectly. But also along that same time, they don't share any connection with each other. They never meet. So it's kind of like two anthology films stitched together, but two anthology films are kind of separated. But so it's like these two films are playing at the same time and they both connect to each other. And it works so well. They really give the mystery vibe, a lot of attention, because at times you're wondering like what's going on with him, what's going on with her. You're thinking like, are they actually going to meet each other? And they never do. But they kind of have like an indirect connection even though they never meet. Also, when things start happening in this film, like the supernatural things, you start wondering like, okay, how did that happen? Oh, wait a minute. How did this happen? And it like makes you start thinking like, how did this work? Where did these things go? Or how did this person end up there? And as the movie goes on, you start seeing things happening as other things happening as well. And you're just like, you think back to like a former scene and you're like, oh, that definitely works perfectly. Oh, that still works. That's pretty impressive. They never leave like any mystery unsolved in this film, because like you see like the mysterious things happen, and then later down the line, if you remember what happened, they fill in that void as to how it happened. The one thing I wish could have been done better here was that the mysteries were a little bit more challenging to figure out. I mean, as the movie progressed here and there, like there were certain moments, like we weren't even into the second act, but I was picking up already as to who's who, what's what, and why this is happening. But it also wasn't really just how the story was playing, it was also how a lot of the edits and cuts were being played as well. There were a lot of jump cuts back and forth between Dylan O'Brien and Elise Scanlon, and a lot of times when that happened, it started giving like a lot of hints as to what's going on and what they're going to find and who's going to be there. And in that situation, it kind of like gave some really good suspense that was building up away. And it could have made the movie a lot more thrilling and mysterious if there weren't so many jump cuts here and there. I mean, not saying that the mysteries still weren't solid and it wasn't an interesting movie. It's just that it made it a lot more obvious, in my opinion. And I wish they didn't make it so obvious. Overall, though, this movie was still very good. I enjoyed it. It never lost its, tone and mood once the whole movie. So that's why I'm going to give CADDO Lake here a B. Very solid thriller, playing it safe, sticking to the fundamentals. All right, well, that just about wraps up this review. If you guys have seen CADDO Lake, please comment here and down below what your thoughts were on it. Also, if you like my other videos, you can check out here more on my channel. And always remember to stay epic.